With me today is Miss Ingrid De La O.
De La O,
All right,
yeah.
De La O, okay. She is the co-founder and chief product officer of TUSOL Wellness. Ingrid, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you on. I'm looking forward to kind of digging into nutrition and how it's such a key, pillar to our health and wellness. And, obviously how that kind of fits into the rest and recovery aspect. But before we get there, how did you get to this point? How did you come up with TUSOL, and what was kind of the motivating factor?
Yeah, well, it's a long story, but before, this is about 5 years ago that really got me into moving into the wellness space, because I had the humbling experience of getting sick. I hit my rock bottom, and I had, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I had severe postpartum depression, and I was in and out of the hospital with just surgeries. I had a heterotopic pregnancy, and for those of you that don't know what a heterotopic pregnancy is, it's basically a double and simultaneous implantation. And so I gave birth to my son, but my other baby got stuck in the fallopian tube and it had to be removed. So it was,
Oh, wow.
everything was happening in 1 year.
Yeah.
And, it got to the point where I had to take matters into my own hands, because I came to the realization that we're all looking for that guru or that doctor that could figure out what's wrong with us, right?
Right.
But in reality, it's you. It's us that have to figure out what is wrong with us, or what, connecting the dots, because there's nobody else that it's more of an expert of you than you are.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a fair point. And just, understanding yourself, self-awareness, and, understanding what's happening. And it certainly helps to have medical professionals or others that are going through the same scenario to kind of understand, hey, one, I'm not the only one. And then two, kind of help explain what's happening.
Correct. Oh, correct. Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And so, but I know I understand, and I talk to a lot of people about this, where people are put in boxes, right?
Right.
So when you go with a doctor, and this doctor tells you, look, this is what's wrong with you. There's nothing you could do about it. And this is who you are.
Right.
And so people start to believe that there's no outlet. They just put a ceiling on you, and that's it. There's no way going above that ceiling. And so there's limitations there. And to me, I went through so many doctors. And the last one I went to, she was supposed to be the best gastrointestinal doctor in LA. And it took me about, I think 8-9 months to get an appointment. And by the time I got an appointment, I was told it was a 5-minute consultation.
Wow.
I waited 9 months for a 5-minute consultation. And she says, I looked at your chart and it looks like you have Crohn's. There's nothing you could do about it. It's genetics. And I looked at her and I said, well, I brought a list with me of the things that I'm eating and the things that I'm doing on a daily basis. Would you like to see that? It's like, no, there's nothing you could do about that. It's not related to nutrition at all. And so I went home with a prescription of steroids, and I started taking the steroids. I was taking them for about 6 months after that appointment. But I mean, just like any pharmaceutical, right? You could fix a symptom, but it's going to bring you an avalanche of other side effects. And so that was happening to me. Oh yeah, it took me even further into the spiral of postpartum depression, to the point that I remember after 6 months of taking the steroids, I was contemplating suicide. I was, okay, this is too painful. I just don't want to live anymore.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, like, well, there's no point to live. I'm in pain every single day of my life. I can't really go out and hang out with friends. And because I know that if I'm going to go sit down with my friends and have a coffee or have lunch, I'm going to be in pain, and I'm not going to be able to, concentrate on what they're saying.
Yeah.
And so I stopped really hanging out with people, and I was a hermit in my house. And so one day I told myself I have to do something about this. I know, I was put in this box, but there has to be a way out. I can't stay in this box. And it's been a very, very interesting journey. Really, I tell people, and everyone says, how did you get started? How did you figure out this how to connect the dots?
Yeah.
And you go online and you Google what is the correct diet, right?
Right. And 37 diets come up.
Oh yeah, more than that. There's always a diet coming up. I think there's like there's like the cookie diet, and there's so many diets.
Yeah.
And so
I was talking to, I think it was my brother-in-law. He was talking about somebody did some kind of like biscuit diet, and I was like, really? Eat croutons or biscuits or something like that for all your meals? And I was like, that sounds off.
Like a dog food. You're eating dog treats?
No, like baked biscuits, like muffins, and like a McDonald's biscuit or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that seems a little odd.
Where we're heading, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I started to do is, okay, I need to really understand how the chemistry in my body works. And I went into I started studying Eastern medicine. I really got into Chinese medicine. Then I loved Ayurveda medicine and Aztec medicine. And one of the common denominators that I found in there is that, they look at the body as a whole, not just as, they're not picking out symptoms and looking at it like a puzzle piece. It's a whole, because it's all connected. And so I became so interested in that, and I started going to Pepperdine and started studying biochemistry. And just to give you a little reference about my life, before that I was a graphic designer.
Okay.
So this became my passion, and I had a lot of mentors. I started getting in there with a lot of functional doctors and understanding how this whole thing works. It's like putting together a big puzzle for myself. And for those of you that don't know what Crohn's disease is it's basically an inflammatory bowel disease. It causes inflammation and scarring in the lining of both the small and the large intestines. So when you eat something, it literally feels like you're eating a Brillo pad. Excuse me for a second, my dog's barking. Stop. Sorry.
It's okay.
So it's like, so it literally feels like whenever you eat something, it feels like a Brillo pad is going into your intestines.
Wow.
It's really, really painful.
Wow.
So, and it's one of those things where Crohn's disease, it's kind of a taboo subject, because a lot of, people don't really talk about this. Like when people have issues with, IBS, colitis, or other digestive issues, a lot of the symptoms could be very embarrassing that you don't want to share with other people. And so I found myself not talking about it because I was so embarrassed. I didn't talk about it to my husband at the time. And a lot of the symptoms, could be bloody stools. It's like, how do you talk to your partner about like, hey, I'm having bloody stools?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so later on, I learned, I started to be very outspoken about it and started to talk to other people about it. And to my surprise is that the majority of people are having issues with IBS. Do you know what the number one reason why people miss work? It's because of digestive issues.
Seriously? I had not heard that. Wow. Yeah. And people, like you were saying earlier, is like this glass ceiling that's set for you, as if you're supposed to just accept that as that part of your identity. Like
Exactly.
I just have it. That's it, you know, or my family had it. So I have it. So it's just like, it becomes a part of you rather than something that you could manage through or out of.
And the thing is that we live in in a world where we don't trust our bodies.
Right.
We don't trust that our bodies are going to have the ability to get through this or have the ability to heal itself. And in reality, if you really think about it, your body is the smartest biochemist there is.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is constantly doing chemical reactions every second. Hundreds, thousands of chemical reactions, right? And so, but then again, we don't trust that the body has the ability to be able to fight the inflammation or be able to get through it.
Yeah, and you know, the pain is an indication. I had another guest on, Dr. Perry Nicholson, and he talks a lot about lymphatic system, and he mentioned, he said pain is a signal for change.
Mm-hmm.
So what that change is depends on what the pain is, but you know, you might be in pain from doing a workout, so you're sore, but there's a response to that, right? It might be ice or some kind of recovery. But in this case for Crohn's, like it sounds like there's other ways to get through that.
Well, this is with Crohn's. It's most of it is it's an inflammatory disease.
Right.
And so, you know, I tell people I didn't wake up with Crohn's one day, right? It was a series of events that got me there. And it was going to be, there's no silver bullet. There was going to be a series of events that was going to get me out of there. And, you know, if I think about it, 5 years before I was diagnosed, yes, I could tell you I was battling severe stress, right? I was not sleeping properly. I was eating really bad. And I started to, you know, see the difference in my body. I was 29 years old at the time. And I started to see the difference in my body. 5 years prior to that, I was starting to have lower energy. I would sleep longer than usual. But I would blame those things for, I don't know, little things, little events in my life. Oh, well, yeah. I'm just tired. I worked late last night. Or I'm just stressed out because of this. And so we start blaming little symptoms on other things, but in reality, it's your body telling you, hey, calm down. Hey, just relax a little bit. And, you know, if you're not listening, your body's going to be like, okay, let me show you what I can do. Let me show you how I could slow you down.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's your body telling your mind you need to adjust and something's up. But we just chalk it up to, like you said, or my kid was up late or whatever it is, and some rationalization. And there may be truth to that, right? Yeah, you did stay up late because you're at work or happen to go out with some friends or whatever. But if it's over time, an extended period of time, there should be a light bulb that says, something's a little off.
Yeah, and and I tell everyone it's you know, the micro decisions that you make every single day is the outcome to your life. That's exactly what you're gonna be. Every single decision, every split second of your day, you're making decisions, and you put those decisions together. It's not the big decisions. It's not the day that you got married, or it's not the day that, I don't know, you decided to get pregnant. It is the day, the little decisions that you make on a daily basis that accumulate into who you are.
Yeah. Those little Atomic Habits talks about the 1% better.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, James Clear. That's such a great book. So I recommend that book.
Yeah, me too. It's been pivotal for me to make some changes, and it's just, you know, you got to have that patient persistence, right? It's not going to happen overnight. You got to have a little bit of grace with yourself, but at the same time, you have to keep pushing and not be content with okay.
Yes, you can't half-ass a lot of stuff, right? Yeah. A lot of people talk to me about, you know, how do I deal with Crohn's? And I sit down and talk to them for hours about, okay, this is what you could do. These are the changes that you have to do. But, you know, at the end of the day, they look at me, it's like, well, what if I only do 20% of what you just told me? I'm like, well, if you want to see real changes, I suggest you actually start making as many changes as you can.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
And start to ramp it up. I mean, you don't have to do, let's say there's 25 of them. Don't do all 25 right away, right? You want to start that habit, that 1% better, but start
Exactly.
progressing that way, but don't stop
Exactly. Yeah.
until that's your day and that's what it looks like. And and too often I think, we have our own glass ceilings of too much, right? Or it's going to be hard and we're willing to live. I'll call it living with our demons, right? We're willing to be too comfortable with our demons of mediocrity or like feeling the pain, and that just becomes okay to deal with that, and that's just part of it.
And it's finding the middle ground, because then I could talk to you about how, after I started to feel better and I started doing everything that I was doing, then, it got to the point that I was overdoing it because I was so scared of going back to the old person that I was.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that. And so it's that fear of not becoming that person again. And so I was overdoing it. I was waking up at 6 a.m, working out, doing 2 workouts a day, taking so many supplements. My phone was going off every hour of the day, just reminding me to take all kinds of supplements. But at the same time, now it's like I don't really take supplements. I have, maybe I take 3 or 4 of that. I rotate, but it's sort of like now I'm more lenient, and I'm more, I'm really big on stress management. So what I do is I make sure, I look at I have an Aura ring, which for those of you that don't know what an Aura ring is, basically it's a ring that goes around your finger, and it really, you could get a lot of data from your sleep. And so based on that, you could see if you slept good, then it's okay for you to have a workout. But if you really had poor sleep, it's come on, let your body have a break.
Yeah.
Because like you said in the beginning, it's okay to have breaks. We just feel guilty about taking breaks.
Yeah. And keep the long game in mind that, roll back a little bit. Like you said, say I'm a runner. I had 6 miles planned. I wake up and I feel exhausted. Well, instead of doing 6, maybe just do 2.
Exactly.
And then go slower.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I was going to run 5 or 6 miles for hard, whatever that is. Just roll it back a little bit. So you're still working out, you're still getting that exercise, but you're not putting the type of load on yourself, both physically or emotionally. Like you said, the guilt trip, the self-shaming of not doing what I'm supposed to.
Exactly. And then, everybody has a baseline, because I talk to a lot of people that, tell me like, well, I'm not stressed out. Okay, let's walk me through your day. Tell me from the day that you wake up until now. And when they start writing their day out and telling me what they're doing on a daily basis, it's very clear that there's a lot of stress, but everyone has a baseline, right? And what I've been doing I'm really big into stress managing. So I've been using a glucose monitoring device to be able to, not to look at my glucose intake. What I'm interested in is how many times a day is my glucose spiking, because when glucose spikes is when you have the stress hormones kicking in. So let's say I'm working, I haven't eaten anything in, the past 2 hours, but all of a sudden I see my glucose spike. That means there's cortisol. That means it's adrenaline that is making your glucose spike. So it's really interesting to see the many times a day where I'm stressed out about a phone call or stressed out about something, then I start to see my glucose levels spike up.
Yeah.
That's, really, really good data to see, in order to help you find a better baseline for yourself, to make you aware and to realize, okay, maybe this is when I take a break every hour. I take a 10-minute break, walk around, not sit on my desk all day, and really, it's okay. It's okay to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a conversation with professional volleyball, and she was saying she started trending it too. I mean, she's healthy, exercise, but doing the trending analysis and seeing her response, she like managed her day around the nap in the middle of the day. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with naps, but understanding why your body is telling you that is an important
Right.
detail underneath, right? It's like the iceberg effect. And what she realizes when she readjusted her diet
Mm-hmm.
based on that awareness on the glucose monitor, that she was able to not need it anymore. And she was living with higher levels of energy consistent throughout the day rather than these peaks and valleys.
Right. Yes, that's important. Yeah, there's a book by Matthew Walker, and it's called Why We Sleep, and he
Yes.
really highly recommends.
I'm reading it right now.
Oh, it's such a great book. Yeah, I highlighted so much of that book, and a lot of his. I listened to a lot of his podcasts when he doesn't have a podcast, but he's a guest in a lot of podcasts, and he's super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's, like I said, I just started reading that book and getting into it, and it's definitely an eye opener.
Oh, it's definitely an eye opener. Yeah, you get to learn a lot about the dynamics between deep sleep and REM sleep, right?
Yeah.
And how they work together. So when you shortchange your sleep, let's say you decide to go to sleep at 1 in the morning. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep at 1, and then I'll just set my alarm clock for later. It's like, not really. You're shortchanging your brain because in the first half of your sleep, deep sleep is very dominant, right? And the second half of your sleep, it's REM sleep, which is associated. It's your save button for memories. So when you're having deep sleep, it goes into your neocortex, all your memories throughout the day, and then they get sent over to REM, the second half of the sleep, and that's where REM decides to click the save button on a lot of things that you learn throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so when you're shortchanging one or the other, it's not that you could make up for the sleep. You're shortchanging.
Yeah. Yeah. That was exactly where I am in the book. And it was interesting that, you're shortening it. It's not that you shorten the whole cycle. You're cutting off the whole portion of the cycle. So if there's A, B, C, and D, and you go bed later, you're starting at B.
Yes.
You missed
Yes.
all of A. And
Yes.
that's an important aspect. Like that whole thing is critical to, what your body is, like you said, inherent to do is heal itself in that process. And that's the intent.
Exactly.
So you mentioned cortisol and the different components, and that kind of leads me to think about the formulations you have in a couple of your smoothies there, how the nutrients supports that. And I believe there was one of them that was kind of oriented towards kind of rejuvenation and relaxation, I think. So how did you kind of come up with those protocols, I guess, or the concoctions?
Yeah, so this is when around the time that I was very sick and I needed to find I told myself, if I'm gonna have a meal, it has to be the most nutrient dense meal of the day. And it has to be pre-digested because at the time I couldn't digest anything. And so being blended, it was very beneficial for me to be able to absorb most of the nutrients. And I had, since I became really fascinated with the active ingredients of plants because a lot of these plants work together with, a lot of these active ingredients in these plants work together with other enzymes in other superfoods. So for example, when I found out that maca has a very specific enzyme that when mixed with chaga mushroom, it will boost its superoxide dismutase because chaga has high amounts of SOD. And it will also boost the SOD that you naturally make in your liver. And so finding that there's superfoods that can be catalyst to one another, I became so interested in mixing different active ingredients and different superfoods. So each of the formulations that I made, and I made that for myself because I wasn't thinking about making a company. I had 20 different formulations for myself that had different benefits, different things. Yeah. And so I was able to specifically point out five of the main causes for premature aging that is inflammation, right?
Yeah.
Then you have oxidative stress, free radicals. So it's basically an imbalance of free radicals in the body and not enough antioxidants. There's also gut dysbiosis, cognitive decline, it's all connected. And then you have your mood, your neurotransmitters. And so I wanted to, I really zoomed in on those 5. And I started to take those, I got rid of all my pharmaceuticals. One day I was like, okay, I'm not taking any of this. I'm gonna do it the natural way, because all these ingredients have been studied in Eastern medicine for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And in the past 10 years, there's been an influx of information. You could find it on PubMed, Google, Google Academic. And there's so much research on these superfoods it's coming out almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been an influx in the past 10 years, or interest in this very medicinal plants. And so the information is there. And so I started to really see the difference within a month. I started to see a difference in my sleep. I started to see a difference in my energy, and this is a byproduct of everything, but I lost 30 pounds. So it's something that I really got excited about, because I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's like the power of plant deficit. Because here's the thing, we need drugs. We need the active ingredients of these plants, and we need plant medicine as humans. We have a tremendous plant medicine deficiency, just like your vitamins and minerals. We have a pharmaceutical deficiency,
right?
And and a lot of these times, pharmaceutical companies are able to sell it back to us, but at the same time, they're either way too concentrated or way too isolated that they throw us out of balance. So,
or there's other things associated with it that aren't really helpful.
Exactly. There's a lot of fillers and the extraction process. There's a lot of petroleum. There's a lot of artificial colors that are known to give ADD, and so it's a lot of junk in there. And so and we're not able to do what indigenous people used to do. They would have their food and their medicine in one place. We don't do that anymore. We have food, it's separated, packaged, and doesn't even look like food anymore.
Yeah.
And then we have, we're trying to mimic what nature is giving us. And then we have pharmaceuticals that we take in separately. But we don't have that anymore. We're taking it in one place. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, like we've gotten so far removed from that, because that's where, again, not to dog on pharmaceuticals, but I mean, I think they've gotten too far away from how it got started, because it all started with that Eastern style or the natural remedies from Earth. That's how they all started. And, in the, I think, good intentions misapplied approach is they kind of got a little too far away from sticking from that, and now it's pure manufactured, and our bodies, I think, are showing up with what you're saying with the Crohn's disease and so many different issues, chronic diseases now. I think it's just our body at mass scale telling us something's off.
Yeah.
Look at your food supply.
Exactly. I mean, we're in a world where, you go to any supermarket and you could walk aisles and aisles of cereal, aisles and aisles of junk food, right? And then the organic section is like this tiny, it's like a little corner on that section. And then the rest of it is, it's junk. And so, we're eating inflammatory foods with high amounts of free radicals as well. And foods that sequester oxygen, not enough antioxidants, and not enough diversity of foods. It's extremely important, because a given antioxidant is not able to scavenge all types of free radicals. And so the number one source of antioxidants for the average American is coffee. right?
Yeah.
But then you have to think about like where most of the coffee has insane amount of mycotoxins, right? That are considered carcinogenic.
Yeah. And that's what I think it's so prevalent. It's not discussed at all. Like how much, I think coffee is one of the most, I think it was EWG that, Environmental Worker Group, had a couple of reports on the amount of pesticides in coffee. And it's one of the most riddled with pesticides, and GMO based ingredients.
Well, most of the food that we're consuming it's riddled with pesticides, right? And so now, I mean, just imagine breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're eating glyphosate, which is the main ingredient for these pesticides, and for not to mention snacks, right? And for those of you that don't know, glyphosate, which is the main ingredient, it's a combination of glycine, so the amino acid glycine, and it's combined with methylphosphanol group, which is a precursor for what do you call it? It's a precursor for poison, for how do you call this? I'm sorry. So methylphosphanol is a precursor for chemical weapons. That's what it is.
Oh, wow.
So it's like tear gas. And so we're consuming that on a daily basis. And so, you know, your body, I mean, glycine is one of the main amino acids for your collagen matrix.
Yeah, I was going to say glycine's good.
Yes, but when it's combined with methylphosphanol, then your body will take it in. And that becomes part of your matrix. That becomes part of your collagen for years. Becomes part of your bones. Becomes part of you. So every time you're ingesting glyphosate, you're making it part of you for years. It's not going to be taken out of your body very easily, because it's taking it in as if it was glycine. And one of the things that about glyphosate, it first came out in the 1960s. And it was a chelator. It was a descaler. So whenever you get deposits around your shower, glyphosate was used. You would pour it around your shower, and it would get rid of all the deposit.
What?
Around, yes. And so just imagine if it's a chelator. I mean, we are already deficient in minerals, right? So when you start ingesting glyphosate, it starts to take the little minerals that you have. It starts to chelate you.
Wow.
So it's and it does a lot of things. I mean, it does so many things. It damages the liver as well. So we're having issues with absorption of nutrients, right? And then a lot of people are having digestive issues, heavy metal issues, and you got to think about, the issue that it brings on your liver. It really gets rid of, or it really damages cytochrome P450, which is one of the main enzymes that convert vitamin D, natural vitamin D from the sun into, it goes from the sun to your skin, from cholesterol, it goes into the liver, right? To be turned into active vitamin D. So now people are wondering, look, why they're having a vitamin D deficiency, right? When, that's one of the things that we need to be looking at.
I had no idea on those last 2 points. On the cleaning agent piece, it makes sense with the liver damage. If it start deteriorating the liver, that's an important organ to...
so many functions
for your wellness. It's just, and it takes a while to get there, and it will take some time to undo that.
Exactly.
But,
yeah.
Equate it to what's the story about planting trees 20 years ago or today is the best time. So the point is, it takes time to grow a tree to a full point, but like there's no better day than today to start. And then apply that 1% better, right? That atomic habit development of just gradual.
So yeah, that's what I tell people. Hey, like there's a lot of angry people that are complaining about wearing masks, but at the same time, it's like, hey, why aren't we angry about glyphosate in our food? Right?
Yeah.
Like, let's be angry at that. Let's be angry at canola oil being in our food.
Yeah.
So
What is it? There's 8 different oils, I think. Is that right?
every single oil that comes from a plant or a seed or a legume starts to become rancid or starts to develop free radicals, because once you start isolating these oils, then there's no protective. There's nothing to protect it. When it's in a seed or in a nut or anywhere else, then you have vitamin E, at least alpha tocopherol, to protect it from going rancid, from accumulating free radicals.
Plus, it's in a different state, right? It's in the seed. It hasn't been.
Yeah, and then I tell people, look, if you could take a bunch of seeds and turn that into oil in your own kitchen, then then I would say maybe it would be safe if you could do it at home. But no, there's a lot of chemicals that are used to be able to extract these oils from these seeds.
Mm-hmm.
So many chemicals that are used. And then, now we're getting into extraction. So it's, you're ingesting petroleum, basically.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very tasty.
No, and so that becomes also part of your matrix, becomes part of your adipose tissue for years, and it damages DNA, damages the mitochondria, and so that's and it's it's one of the reasons for insulin resistance. It's just a lot of inflammation that these oils create.
Yeah, it's amazing the compounding effect that all those things have, and the pervasiveness too. Like, even if you start looking at certain foods, organic, non-GMO gets put out there a lot, which is important to do and know, but there's other things behind that. It's not really now to talk about the details on that stuff. But point is, even some of those products are made with some of these oils. So it's like you're offsetting the value and benefit of doing something either organic, non-GMO, but then you're cooking it in some kind of oil that's just going to make it negate it.
Exactly. So, the most stable oils, if you're wondering, it would be medium triglycerides, like coconut oil. That's safe. And I would say, ghee is great, butter. And one of the things about those is that now you're getting into fat soluble vitamins that we're all deficient in. So as a bonus, you get, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin A, as in retinol. So you're getting all these fat soluble vitamins that you need, but they're not really existent in other foods.
Yeah. Yeah. So so with the company, so who are the products designed for? Is it really anyone who's looking to get healthy? Is it oriented towards any particular gender, like men or women, based on, your experience, or is it really helpful for anyone?
I want to say it's helpful for everyone. Even kids. My son, he's 5 years old and he loves smoothies. Nice. It's a very easy way to, if you're on the go, it's a very easy way to make a nutrient dense meal. It's a meal replacement, and there's also I added a lot of the supplements that the most common supplements that people take. So there's and when I say I add them, it's they're full serving size. I don't just sprinkle them in there, because I believe that you're supposed to get the full experience, and if you're sprinkling something, they're just not going to make a difference. Right. And so you have a really diversity of polyphenols, and now we're getting back into what I had said earlier, where we're so deficient in this active ingredients, in this we don't eat diversity, which is what our microbiome needs, right? If you think about what you ate last week and you put it in as a list, you're gonna find yourself eating the same thing. Like we like to we get comfortable with our food, right? Absolutely. And so it's what we know, and that's what's easy for us, and that's what but there's not diversity in that. So if you're eating broccoli or if you're eating cauliflower, it comes from the same family, really. So you're eating the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's no diversity. And so I wanted to be able to add all these, bioactive ingredients and all these amazing polyphenols that are extremely important for our health, because I do believe that oxidative stress, free radicals, it's one of the main issues to inflammation, and the main issues that it's like an open door to chronic diseases, not having enough of these antioxidants. And so we're already depleting our antioxidants by constantly taking this glyphosate, right? It depletes your antioxidant. It basically it targets your natural antioxidants like your SOD and your glutathione. And so I wanted to add a pharmaceutical chest that it's available. So you have, all kinds of polyphenols. You have you have delphinidine, which is an amazing flavonoid. And this flavonoid is only found in maqui berries, and maqui berries come from Chile. They grow wild in Chile, so it took me a long time to be able to source these maqui berries. But they are incredibly high with delphinidine, which is a flavonoid that can help with, it will help you with boost your nitric oxide, and it's also able to help keep your endothelial cells, your blood vessels healthy as well.
That's huge in so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
With nitric oxide, and that's such an important ingredient. And if you can go down a rabbit hole around breath work too, that relates to nasal breathing more.
Yeah.
But just that and just it all circles down to the having healthy blood running through your system.
Exactly.
Help keep everything oxidized in a healthy way.
Exactly. Yeah. And so and it's also amazing for anyone that's a diabetic or because it helps bring down the glucose levels in the blood. It stabilizes them too as well.
Cool.
So it's so all these flavonoids, they're not only antioxidants, right, that are going to help fight free radicals, but they're like superheroes, like little ninjas that have specific benefits. And so I love hesperidin. There's also naringin that's found mostly in citric foods, and it's known to be able to repair DNA. You have so many. Yeah, I mean, the very well-known quercetin. Everyone knows that one. But there's over 4,000 different phenolic acids, and so it's really interesting, to be able to diversify those instead of just taking the ones that everyone takes.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We just started taking some quercetin that are very good for your immune system, as you mentioned, and critical element.
That's great. And I mean, it's found in yellow. I mean, the color of quercetin is yellow, so each flavonoid has its color. So for example, delphinidine is blue. So what gives the berries its pigment. There's also quercetin is yellow, so you'll find it in leafy greens. You'll find it in mangoes, in yellow foods. So it's interesting. It's like literally eating the rainbow.
Yeah. That is so cool. Well, we're kind of coming up on time. I feel like I continue down this path with you for a long time. You have a wealth of knowledge. Fascinated by what you're doing with being able to give folks, these nutrient dense smoothies. That's one, kind of easy to do, but helpful too.
Yeah.
We just got our first pack the other day and tried one of them. I forget the name of it. I think it was the one with the cacao in it.
Yeah.
It was really good. Yeah, very good. You always start with chocolate, so
it's like safe.
Exactly. But I like to close things out with a few personal questions. So,
sure. Yeah.
What are you reading right now?
Oh, I'm reading the Adrenaline Dominance book, which is interesting because it talks about how people I think I just touched on that subject, how people have this baseline of stress, right? But
Yeah.
in reality, a lot of the times we are, adrenaline takes over and we're living our lives on adrenaline.
Yeah.
So
And
it's a really interesting book.
cool. I'm going to check that one out. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a great conversation for a follow-up person. But yeah, adrenaline dominance and the constant, fight or flight with stress is a big, big thing
Mm-hmm.
to manage through. And I think it's more pervasive than people realize.
Yeah, and the thing is that no matter what you do, if you, let's say you're eating the healthiest and you have your little infrared sauna at home and you're doing everything, if you cannot manage your stress, nothing else is going to help you.
Yeah, and certainly not to the degree it could. Like
No.
it'll be drops in the sand, and pebbles in the
Yeah.
ocean kind of thing that
Yeah.
and can add to your frustration because you feel like you're doing all the right things, and that will, in many folks, you'll stop. You'll be like, why bother? Because I'm not improving. I'm
Exactly.
doing the insane.
Nothing works. Nothing is working. Well,
Right.
yeah,
But
that's
really,
one of the
there's something undiscovered at that point.
yeah, that's one of the foundations of health.
So, what are you listening to right now, be it music or podcast?
Um, it's interesting. I'm listening to a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with Ray Peat, Dr. Ray Peat. It's an
No.
amazing researcher. He goes into the history of things. So if you want to know about insulin, he'll tell you who discovered insulin, why it was discovered, and where did the research go wrong.
Cool.
So it's really interesting to read a lot about these things that are considered healthy. But then when he breaks it down, it's like, look, it started in the 1950s and this guy discovered it. But what people don't know is that he also used sugar with insulin to be able to heal people because they work together.
Wow.
Insulin, without sugar, insulin does not work. But it goes into like research. He's a brilliant researcher, and he has a cult following. He's old now. I think he's in his 90s, but he has a very active forum where just people are constantly posting on a daily basis. It's kind of like a mini Reddit for health and wellness.
Cool. I'm definitely gonna check that one out. Thank you for that. Okay, last one. What is your go-to rest and recovery method?
I think my go-to would be water.
Water.
I'm very, very big on water. I mean, I could talk about water all day long, but one of the things that I found is that, I mean, come on, we're more than 70% water, right? So if you could do one thing, don't listen to anything that I say, don't listen to anything that you say. If you could just do one thing, right? It would be the quality of your water. Because if you're 70% water and you change the quality of your water, you could change 70% of your matrix.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. And people think they overlook it because they're like, oh, water. Yeah, whatever. That's too simple. Well, sometimes the simple, straightforward answer is the right one. You just have to do it all the time.
Yes, but it's not that simple actually, because now we're looking into, like most of our water source comes from tap water. Now, if you want to go to ewg.org and type in your zip code, then you could see where your water comes from and all the pharmaceuticals that's in your water, all the, heavy metals and all the stuff that's in your water, that it's poisonous and carcinogenic. Simple. You could see the whole list from your water company.
Yep.
And so that, opens your eyes to a lot of things, right? And so, and another thing that I do with my water, I add, I have a recipe on my website if you guys want to follow it, but you could add your own minerals in your water, specifically magnesium, because magnesium, our ancestors didn't take magnesium from supplements, and the most of the magnesium that our ancestors used to take was coming from water. That's the main source of magnesium bicarbonate. And so I have a recipe. It's very easy to make, very cost effective. And you could make this using carbon dioxide. You mix magnesium hydroxide, that carbon dioxide turns it into bicarbonate and is the best bioavailable source of magnesium.
Oh, wow.
And it actually makes the water taste better, like really good.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely been aware of that. We have well, so it's a little bit better, but you still have runoff and things of that nature. But yeah, we usually use our Berkey filters, the charcoal filters with Berkey, um, for our water. But yeah, it will definitely scare to life when you realize what's in your city water.
Yes. It's like I tell people, look, it comes from your toilet. Yes, it's recycled water. So do an experiment, grab your toilet water and try to turn that into the clear liquid that you know as water. Like see how many really harsh chemicals you have to use to be able to turn it into this clear water.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned the pharmaceutical piece, and I had just heard something. I don't remember where I heard it, but it was on a podcast and they were talking about that exact thing. Is like they've done tests on the water and the residue that's in there from pharmaceutical runoff or whatever runoff that's in a glass of water, even at the small amount, is carcinogenic. And then you're drinking that all the time when you shower. People don't even think about when you shower.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your skin is your largest organ. You're
Mm-hmm.
absorbing so much water into your body at that point and whatever's going along with it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was that study was done, I think, in 2018, and they grabbed samples of water from major cities, and one of the cities that had the most pharmaceuticals was Philadelphia. They found over 50 traces of different pharmaceuticals
Wow.
in the water. And, like doctors tell you know this, like most people know this, like you're not supposed to mix pharmaceuticals, right? Well, I mean, you're mixing 50 pharmaceuticals. What happens with that, right?
Yeah. Nothing good comes of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Ingrid, thank you so much for your time. I think it was a great conversation and informative. Where can folks learn more about you and what you're doing with TUSOL?
Yeah, thank you. You can find me at TUSOLWellness.com. And you can find me on Instagram as well at TUSOL Wellness. You could, send me a DM or an email, and I'm always there to respond to any questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, and have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.